Alright guys, welcome back to another reaction video to Shoe on Head, the male loneliness thing? Yeah. I've seen a lot of VTubers react to this, but I myself have never watched this. I am aware that there is a male loneliness problem, and I am aware that there was a big discourse on Twitter about it, but a while back, like 4, 5, 6 months ago, I saw something. But aside from that, I knew there is a Shoe on Head video that exists that talks about this topic, and I think there's also a response video to the responses to that video. Yeah, I'm just gonna let's just watch it.
I regret to inform you, the men are not okay. That's right.
True, we are not okay. We are definitely not okay.
Right, folks, the men are not okay.
That is true.
No friends, no girlfriend, no college education, no money.
Kinda, yeah.
Are breaking their legs and inserting metal rods
also
into their bones
that
to be a few inches taller.
And we break our jaws to make our jawline a bit more, look better. Or we go to insane procedures with our body, or we take steroids or other interesting things to enhance ourselves.
Help them overcome their pornography addictions.
You deserve real love.
Turns out the society.
Yeah, Batman is correct. We deserve real love. That is true.
Built by and allegedly
I'm already stopping too much.
Has indeed let them down. Now you might be thinking, oh.
Was the world built by men? Yes. Was the world built for men? No. Because if the world was built for men, women would still have no rights. Definitely. Because here's a newsflash. Women need men to enforce their rights, and if all men collectively decided that women should have no rights, women would have no rights. But thankfully, there are enough good men to protect those rights. However, with a lot more influence through certain groups, women have kind of a little struggle to keep, may struggle eventually to keep that, which is why we need to fight those certain groups. Let's continue.
Look, another boo-hoo poor men video by Shoe on Head. Yes. And if
yes,
you
woo!
That, tune into literally anything else.
That's what I recommend to people that don't agree with my opinions. Tune into literally anything else. I don't care. I'm not gonna censor myself for you. Try me a river.
Men are in a crisis.
Is that a white? That's a white monster. That is disgusting.
And the people who do care
just like
the people who want to sell them shit. Not me. I'm different. So before we get into this, let's quickly get into today's sponsor. Today's sponsor is Holkar. Holkar is a young Austrian company that
it's watches, isn't it? It is watches. I mean, those watches look really cool. It's not that I mean, that is a very cool sponsor in my opinion, because watches are cool. I like watches.
They're a great blend of function and fashion, and overall, I just think they look very classy, especially the men's
I don't like these like weird smart watches and stuff. I like the good old classic watch.
A great gift for my boyfriend. He especially loved the casual yet
Aren't you married?
appearance, making it an ideal choice to wear both at work and at home. I'm also really happy with the watch I picked out. It's made from black and white marble and features a nice.
It's also funny how she now wears glasses.
Elegantly crafted earrings, very unique
quickly switch
glasses and necklaces. Like this rose marble elevation necklace.
This might be a cute gift for a girlfriend.
For a loved one.
If I had one.
Have a 24-month warranty, and ordering online is super easy with free shipping to the US and most EU countries within 2 to 5 days. So
hey, that looks. Maybe I should get one.
And support the channel.
That's actually not a bad idea.
And clicking the link in the description below. Use my special code SHOE15 at checkout. That will give you 15% off for all products store-wide. So go to
maybe not $200 for a watch. I don't know.
Thank you, Holkar, for sponsoring this video, and thank you, the viewer.
I don't know about that one, Chief.
Why are men and boys struggling? And what should we do about it?
A few new studies have come out that have shown that young men are more lonely and single than ever before.
True and real.
It's not just men. The women and children too. It's predicted that 45% of women will be single.
I've seen that stat. That is wild.
According to the media, this is a good.
Boys, invest into cat food and boxed wine. This is gonna go insane.
The economy is booming, as they say. And meanwhile, men being single is
because women spend more money than the average dude.
Single men are having a hard time finding.
It's not some. It's most.
Music that they listen to speaks very derogatory.
I've heard music that women listen to. It is similar. It's not as derogatory, but it is similar. Also, really, music. Yeah, that's the huge reason why we struggle.
Right. Yeah, man,
insane.
stop listening to that derogatory music. Then maybe you won't be single. I don't know, I think men and women being single and lonely kind of shows their...
Yeah, imagine if that was the reason. I listen to rocket metal, and yeah, there's definitely no real derogatory
with society.
terms used, especially not against women.
Wave it off as empowering or pathetic. According to several different articles, I love how that's my source, I read about it on the internet, research shows that people from individualist countries show a greater sense of loneliness. This is linked to socioeconomic development, increased education,
because we're a lot more isolated. Funny how we are the most, like, connected to society, yet we are the most lonely. Isn't that funny? Yeah, there's hikikomori. I think that's how you say it.
Basically postmodern hermits. Mostly young men who completely withdraw from society, secluding themselves.
Sounds like me, but I don't withdraw, I just really don't care about people.
Estimated 700,000 hikikomori in Japan.
Like, I'm trying to at least find a wife, but I'm not that outgoing or social,
Today,
really.
It's estimated to be about 1.55.
That's a lot.
And because of things like this,
that is insane.
Having babies, so Japan's population has been in a sharp
which is why they all drop all these cute McDonald's ads.
So bad that Japan even produces videos of live-action women staring
That's
into
uncomfortable.
the camera to help the hikikomori.
I don't know, that is really helpful, but yeah.
Integrate them back into society.
Like, not in that way.
If you want to know
Like this, with the fists up and then almost crying. I think that's a bit much.
The rise of social media and technology. R.I.P. to the king. Although technology makes things easier, it can also make us more atomized. Why go to the mall when I can just tap, buy a new microphone, and have it shipped to me in a day?
I did that recently.
When I can get all my social interaction I need from Twitter and streamers. Why go on dates and bother meeting women when I can just tap, Google big boob and get 2 million results?
Guys, don't do that. Don't watch pornography. It is bad. It is unhealthy. It is bad. It is just overall just bad for your brain, bad for your dopamine. Don't do it. You can invest that time. You can spend the time you're scrolling to find a good video for something else.
Or see my
be productive. Become a content creator.
For only $5. Instant dopamine, instant satisfaction.
You're a loser if you subscribe to an OnlyFans. Also, AI girlfriends.
We're so fucked. Dating apps
it's over.
Are the great Satan.
Blade Runner.
Convinced they've completely broken men's brains. Women on dating apps are
I stopped using these things because they're worthless. You don't get anything from them.
At least for now. But on dating apps, you have to
You're not gonna find a girl to marry on that.
It's safe to say that the commodification
well, rarely.
of love and the window shopping of dating apps probably has to do a lot with the rise of lonely single men. Men are not just lonely when it comes to dating, they're lonely when it comes to friendship too. According to Vox, Americans are currently in a friendship recession, and men are being hit the hardest.
Yep, pretty much.
Men who reported having at least 6 close friendships fell in half since the 90s. 1 in 5 men say they have no close friends.
I am 1 in 5 men. They like me for real.
The explosion of figures like Andrew Tate is not surprising at all.
Not really, no.
Being a man is a blessing because it starts so differently. I believe that every man is born without any value at all. I think that the world's never going to think you're important unless you make yourself.
he is kind of correct. He is kind of correct. Say what you will about this man, but he is kind of correct in that sense. Because men are always the ones who, if they don't provide anything, they are useless. Which means that if you are a lazy dude who has nothing to offer, society does not see you as valuable.
Important.
And recently, a new study came out about how young men are moving
Yep.
towards the right.
I have
And
realized
every
that.
other month,
I have realized that while dating.
liberals, suckdom, leftists,
Because I'm
whatever you wanna call the space online, performs the same song and dance. What's
a little
wrong
more
with men?
conservative.
Why
I
is
have
this
some
happening? Why
leftist
don't
viewpoints,
have
but I'm a
leftists
little
Andrew
more
Tate?
conservative.
We need to push men to the left. Andrew Tate rarely, if ever, talks about politics. Andrew Tate talks about men, and the left only talks about men
When they talk about Andrew Tate.
A few months ago, during one of the monthly song and dances,
Or Jordan
some
Peterson,
progressive
or
people I follow
what have you not.
made the mistake of addressing men's issues, and the even bigger mistake of pointing their finger at their own spaces.
Yeah, now it's gonna
not
get funny.
doing enough to address
I bet it's gonna
said
get
men's
funny.
issues.
She's probably gonna show
There
responses.
were some statistics by healthcare company Cigna indicating that men are the loneliest generation. And addressing it doesn't mean that you turn your back on issues pertaining to women, but
People need to learn that you can talk about multiple topics at the same time. A lot of people can't do that because there are a lot of people that do that. That think that they are autistic. I know somebody who has autism that was really focused on trains and stuff, like really focused on trains. And they are just really focused on women's rights.
that we should be focused on what it is in society that is leading to this epidemic, what the left can do.
I'm just kidding, by the way.
And how we can basically fight.
Just that a lot of people just simply know that
the void.
You could talk about multiple problems at the same time.
People like Jordan Peterson and what have you. Now,
well, Jordan Peterson's behavior became a lot more radical in like the last 3-4 years, I'd say. Before that, he had really good. His lectures are really interesting often.
Recently, Vosh, who's a popular streamer,
the horse fucker,
tweeted this thread that I think is really,
the guy who likes horses and lolly.
Stress enough how important it is to understand that 12-year-old white boys on Twitch are not being pulled into fascism because of some Machiavellian desire to preserve and expand their privileges. It's because the right talks to them and the left doesn't.
Basically, also, it's funny. Because fascism isn't something that's really, exclusive to the right. Because it's also very much a thing on the left. If we talk about things like here in Germany, we have the Antifa, which is leftists. But if you don't agree with them, they're gonna throw rocks at you. Sounds like fascism to me, but what do I know?
These tweets and this content were very normal, level-headed, and respectful.
Definitely.
Me when I lie.
Yeah, pretty much.
LMAO, cry about it. Boo.
That was Hasanabi. I hate that guy. I dislike that guy. I absolutely dislike him. He's a dumbass.
Who? Oh no, poor widow men having problems. Boo who? Grow the f up then.
Can we reverse that? Didn't they recently abolish abortion in some states in the United States? Poor little women having problems. Boo fucking who? Defend yourself. Oh wait, you can't.
Smarter. I'm enjoying all these sad little moids and their sad little tweets about their sad, pathetic lives.
Isn't that a tweet about a sad little moid making a sad little tweet about her sad little life?
Sounds like a personal problem. Is the lack of compassion for men in the room with us right now? Maybe men are just not good people then. I'm so fucking tired of people trying to make male loneliness a huge societal.
It is a huge societal problem because men run the majority of the infrastructure. If all men but feel lonely, collectively decided that they will no longer participate in society, society will collapse. I think that those people do not realize that because they do not work in those jobs. If you don't have electricians, who is going to run your help you have electricity? If you don't have plumbers, who is going to take care of like water and all your water running and all that stuff? If you don't have people, for example, that work in who build roads, which are predominantly men, which roads are you going to drive on? They don't use their head.
No, their fifis are not my responsibility, and I shouldn't have to be punished because they can't get their shit together as human beings. Grow the f up.
Interesting take. So if I don't have the problems that women have, does that mean I don't have to care about women's problems in this case? Oh yeah, that's something different. Why should I care about disabled people? Why should I care about people who had an accident? Why should I care about children starving? Why should I care about homeless people? Same argument.
Why are we trying to win these entitled little predators over? The left isn't for them. That's why they go right in the first place. We're all lonely and alienated. It's young men going to the alt-right in droves. The problem isn't our messaging, it's them.
The problem with young men getting more radicalized is that women, again, this is just the factual truth. Women need men to defend their rights. If good men stop being good men and become violent, you will lose everything. Because men run this society. That is the harsh truth.
It's literally not our problem. Men flock to Andrew Tate not because they're lonely, but because they're bigots. Hope this helps. Nah, it's just...
No, they flock to him because what other male role models are there out there? I don't know one. I don't know really any. Like for example, when we look at actors, like the old actors, like Sylvester Stallone, Arnold Schwarzenegger. What do we have? Maybe even Jackie Chan. What do we have? Else do we have? Harrison Ford. They're all old. Bruce Willis, he is sick. He doesn't do any movies anymore. The other ones are also really old. They're not really doing any movies anymore. Yeah, maybe you have people like The Rock or Chris Pratt. But aside from that, there's not much left. Not to mention that when I grew up, we at least had something running like Naruto or Dragon Ball or whatever, like Yu-Gi-Oh! You can pick characters from that show as your person you would like to aspire to be. Like, one of the biggest role models for me are Goku and Vegeta. Today's kids do not have that. They simply don't. Today's boys do not have male role models. That is unfortunately a hard pill to swallow.
Cry harder, losers.
It's also not about getting... It's interesting. It's not about getting laid. It's about companionship, intimacy, not just like sexual, but holding hands, cuddling, spending time together, having somebody to talk to, having somebody to create a family with. Somebody who says things like that, I assume it's a woman, has nothing else going for them besides getting laid. Because she herself can only get laid. Because that's all the men she surrounds herself with. It is not my problem if you surround yourself with people that suck. If you surround yourself with men that only want to sleep with you, you are only going to meet men that want to sleep with you. That is all you're gonna get. And that is all she probably can provide, is my assumption.
90% of all homicides recorded worldwide were committed by male perpetrators. We should just get rid of all males, to be honest. This includes trans women, as they still retain male violence.
Okay,
By
that's
the way,
wild.
You know the Tumblr feminists who were like, all men are sexist and rapist, male blah, 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 back in the day? Well, this is them now. Should've just let me cook back then. Listen.
You know, it's interesting. 90% of homicides are done by men. Did you know that the majority of infanticide is committed by women? Should we now... Should we now attempt to not let women raise children, as they are more likely to abuse and kill their own children and other children? And fun fact, the majority of children that get deleted by men, it's usually the boyfriend of the mother. Just so you know, usually not the biological father. It's interesting how you could spin around these things. They would literally melt. They would explode if you spun their
I'm white,
rhetoric
socially
around.
awkward, autistic, in my 40s, ugly, overweight, crippled, got a weird balding pattern, and have bad skin. You know what I didn't do? Choose to become a fascist, because I recognized most of the sort that look like me are the problem.
No, I think you are a problem. Because you gave yourself up. I can clearly tell that you gave yourself up.
I may be hideously ugly and pathetic, but at least I'm not a fascist. Thank you for your input, buddy. You're, really helping the situation. The reason young men flock to alt-right MRA movements is because the left gives brain-dead advice to young men.
Uh-oh. Don't say that.
Carl,
You're gonna get killed in
but
the
how is
comments.
Respect women, brain-dead advice. What
We do
advice?
respect women.
Don't rape? Don't be a
The
rapist?
It's funny when they come to all these crime statistics, because here's something. I saw a video who a guy made the math of how many men could potentially be violent in the United States. So he basically took basically 50% of the population, which isn't entirely true, as there are a little more women than there are men in the United States, I think. And then he did some mathematical stuff. He did not split up the different crimes, by the way. He put all crime into that statistic, and he came to a high ball of 0.7% of men committing crimes. That's a high ball. The real number is much lower. It's around 0.2%. That again includes all crimes. If you break that down into like rape, you're gonna have even lower. You're gonna have like something like 0.0 something. You could really scare these people with crime statistics, I think.
Advice? Help, I have no friends or community. I feel suicidal. Have you considered not raping? Act like a decent
Which like almost 100% of men don't do. But okay.
Brain-dead advice like get consent and don't be a Nazi and women.
The problem is that when you get consent, because some women like to play games, you get consent, you ask a woman, and she says no, then you don't proceed to try again, and she complains that you don't like her enough because you didn't try again. Even though we taught men that no means no. Well, unless for some women it doesn't.
People walking up to men struggling with loneliness and depression, like.
And remember, the people posting these comments, the women posting these comments, they are not the average woman. They're just the loud ones. I can guarantee you 99.9% of women do not hate us. It is just a lot more difficult nowadays to approach women, because we have told young women that being approached by a man is creepy and scary, and well, aside Aside from the fact when you're good looking, I guess.
Incredible. Here's my actual advice I would give to my teen boys as a leftist. 1. Always get enthusiastic consent. 2. Save the planet. 3. Don't say that. It's actually kind of racist.
I question here, how is that gonna help?
Like,
How would that help?
How does this address men and their issues? It doesn't. Why does their advice always seem to be, become a liberal? Hey men,
Agree with me politically.
Agree with me politically.
Yeah, she just said it. See? I can see the future.
Beneficiaries of MRA shit. Imagine saying women flock to women's rights activism because they're the biggest.
Oh, really?
Women's rights.
That's interesting. Who would have guessed?
Let's be honest. Aside from procreation purposes, men have become obsolete. Most women can find other methods of achieving orgasm without a man there. And speaking as a man,
Again,
most of us are hard to be around.
why is the
And I don't blame
focus
any woman for
like
just saying,
intimacy?
"No, thanks."
Like
Oh my
not just
God, dude,
intimacy,
this is
but
what every
sex.
just pearly thing
Why
to
is
me looks
why
like
is that
me.
the
Just
focus?
gender swapped. This is pathetic. You know what fixes male loneliness? Jerking off. As a man, I'll say this: sit down, shut up, and beat one out. You'll.
That's interesting.
Just beat one out. Just off. Just watch porn. Batman will be very disappointed in all of you.
He
It's
will.
so funny how
Don't
men
do
feel
that.
entitled to a girlfriend. No, you sexist freak. When one side is like wanting a girl.
It's not entitlement. It's in our biology to want a partner. This just not goes for men, this goes for women too. It is in our biology to want a partner, and if you do not want a partner, then something is very, very, very wrong in my opinion with you. Well, that's just my opinion though. Don't quote me on that, but that is just my opinion. It's not always about getting laid. Like me personally, I'm waiting until marriage with that stuff. How are people who argue like that gonna tell me that that I'm lonely because I want to get laid? Because even though I am wanting to wait until marriage. Interesting concept, I must say. I highly doubt that these people use their brain.
And the other side is like, here's how to get a girlfriend. I don't know, bro. What happened to males just kicking the bucket?
We are
Now
still
they just
kicking
come
the
out here
bucket.
and try to make their loneliness and misery into some social justice issue. Oh, trust me. Men are still kicking the bucket. And when they're not giving mind-blowing advice like just to be a liberal, they're outright dismissing men's issues completely. It's not our job to educate them. Since men created the problem, they need to take steps to fix it.
Okay, let me get through it. I did not help create a society. My father didn't, my grandfather didn't, likely my grandfather didn't, and likely my grandfather didn't. Interesting, so multiple generations have nothing to do with this, yet... And remember, this is the society we have was built over thousands of years. And you want to tell me that women had no hand in this? Interesting.
Other things to care about. Men can figure out their own problems that they created. Again.
So when women have problems when it comes to like rights or like equality, it is a societal problem. But when men have the same issue, they need to fix it. That is an interesting take. So if we have problems and we need to fix it by themselves, we should, in this case, hey, you want your abortion rights back, right? Fight for it yourself. We're not gonna do anything, because you are using the same argument.
It's not women's jobs to change.
Of course we're not gonna do that. We don't suck like these people.
Y'all need to address that amongst yourselves. Men created their own problems. Men can solve their own problems. The left is busy. Why does the well-being...
Busy with... sending weapons to Ukraine. Sending weapons into Israel. Supporting wars. That is what you are busy with. destroying economies, destroying society. Because remember, these are not leftists. Leftists usually punch up. But for example, here in Germany, the left rules the country. In the United States, very much the left rules society. Isn't it funny how through all history, the left usually punches up and now they're punching down? Isn't that interesting? Isn't it weird that the government now is for the left when it was always against the left?
Other people
That's interesting.
Leftists, by the way. It's all systemic issues and societal factors and blah 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 until it's a man and then suddenly it's pull yourselves up by your bootstraps. This problem is just a
doing it right now.
Now take a wild guess about which gender created the patriarchy.
There is no patriarchy. Patriarchy is the natural order. Because, wild take, we don't have a single, well, I think we have like a really like underdeveloped matriarchy, like a tribe of women, just a matriarchy, and underdeveloped by the way. If a matriarchy would have worked so well, why does none exist today? Because a matriarchy results in socialism and in the end in Marxism. It results in destruction because a matriarchy cannot defend itself, because it does not bring about men who are capable of defending their society. Which is why we struggle so much against the Middle East and some Asian countries like China, or even like Asian and European countries like Russia. Because we don't have strong men here anymore. At least not in the quantity that we used to.
Solve your own problems and leave women alone.
Patriarchy is the only thing that works.
The bootstraps rhetoric until the subject is a man, and then it's bootstraps all the way down. They would never talk about any other group.
Even if it's a trans woman, by the way.
It's kind of like both sides.
You fall into the same category, you're gonna get annihilated.
Bootstraps, but one is like, I'll show you how, and the other is like,
a leftist turf, that's insane.
Men to straight up f off. They're giving the 200 IQ answer that nobody has ever heard before. Just show your emotions, bro. And I'm not dismissing this problem, okay? I've made videos talking about this.
Yeah. Show your... well, how do I put this? The problem with the show your emotion thing is that men have all the emotions. But they have a lot less ways of expressing those emotions. Also, men have... we have all those emotions that women have, but we don't have them in the quantity or the intensity that women do. Also remember, anger is the emotion that we use for I'm looking for a word, but I cannot find it. A replacement for all the other emotions. Somebody broke up with you. Anger. You fail at a class. Anger. We replace, like, all the negative emotions are all replaced with anger. That is something really important to take into consideration. Not just that we don't feel the emotions at the same intensity.
Oh, you're crying at your grandfather's funeral? Okay, faggot. And studies have shown that men are scared and vulnerable, even around the homies. And can you blame them when the media says stupid like this? Fellas, is it...
The problem is that men can be vulnerable about men. But society has made women into something that you don't want to show your emotions to, because they will use those emotions against you. I've experienced it multiple times. I will probably experience it a lot more in the future. I can be emotional to my brother. I can be emotional to my father. I can be emotional to the homies, if I had any. I will not be really emotional to a woman, because I know how that's going to end.
woke to open up to your fellow men and discuss history. Men are socialized to believe strength, dominance, and stoicism are behaviors of a real man. Is it any surprise that men are lonely and have less friends nowadays? You have to be vulnerable to make friends. Don't tell me there aren't systemic problems affecting men. Now, while a lot of this may be true, men have been socialized this way for centuries, and this is all relatively a new phenomena. Toxic masculinity has existed forever. If anything, there's less.
Fun fact, the term toxic masculinity is a misused term. It was a term to describe the behavior of inmates being violent to each other for no reason whatsoever. And then people took that and made it into a new term. Because fun fact, there is no toxic masculinity. There's just toxism. Because women can also be toxic and still feminine. So therefore there would also be toxic femininity. I don't like these terms. I don't use these terms. To me, when somebody's toxic, they're just toxic. Doesn't matter if you're man, woman, bird, rocket launcher, I don't care. You're just toxic.
Toxic masculinity nowadays. The cultural embrace of like gender nonconformity, femboys, Harry Styles in a dress, Barbie movie, blah 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 blah. My point is, toxic masculinity did not just—
Yeah, except that the Barbie movie failed a little. Because nobody likes Barbie. But a lot of people like the guy who also was was in Blade Runner, because he was like Ken was the, how do I put this? Ken was the star of the movie. There were a lot more like stuff about Ken on the internet than it was like about Barbie.
The rise of dating apps did, and the housing crisis, and living in a country where the wealth inequality is worse.
The housing crisis is a result of restrictions on the economy. Because let's be real. If we would remove all those restrictions, you would see houses everywhere. Like everywhere. Because the harsh truth is, the only reason that we don't have houses is because there are rich people who don't want their $1.5 million house to be worth $200,000. Because now there's more houses.
Worse than it was during the Gilded Age. That all happened recently. Oh my god, the privileged life these poor little boys must have, that their biggest problem is being lonely.
Did you know that lonely is worse than smoking? Just a little side fact. And it's not just loneliness, it is multiple issues. It is like you have, as a man, you have no goal. There is nothing to achieve out there. After you get your job, there is nothing. Because you can't get a wife. Because women have ridiculous standards because of apps like Instagram, Snapchat, whatever. Mainly because of social media. You cannot afford a house because houses are incredibly expensive. You can therefore also not start. You can also not start a family because you would need a wife. You cannot get that, especially if you're like me and waiting until marriage. It is over. I'm 23. It is over. It is. I can tell you 100%. It is over. There are no other goals, because like for jobs, there is not much possible to make a great career nowadays. Because nothing really pays well enough. And all other things, you cannot even turn your... nowadays, it's also much harder to turn your hobby into a job. There is nothing right now that is worth having for a man. Because while women strive for independence, men strive for a family, a house, like a strong community. Because we have taught women that they don't need a man. While men still want women. Men are not out there. Men saying they don't want a wife. Come on, bro. You're just lying. We are not wired that way. Because we want the wife. We want children. We want the dog. We want all that stuff.
i.e. so insufferable that nobody wants to sleep with them. So
Again, making it about sex, because you have nothing to offer aside from that yourself.
Boo-hoo, you're lonely and have no friends and are suicidal when?
Oh, you talked about wealth.
Under capitalism,
Yeah, funny.
People are working harder and longer while wages have been stagnant.
Fun fact, we aren't really in capitalism. We have some, like, we have some form of capitalism, but it's not really like capitalism. We live, we have a weird system where the central banks control how much money you are able to have. That is not capitalism. Like not in the purest form.
Which, since women are doing amazing in college now,
yep.
and many are now out-earning men,
yep.
this most of the time leads to single men, which then leads to...
Because women like men who earn more than them, and if you earn less than them, you're essentially dead to them, unfortunately. Not all. We know this. Not all. Generally, all the stuff that women want nowadays, all the stuff that men want nowadays, a lot of that stuff should not matter. If you still live with your parents because you want to save money, that should not matter. How much you have should not matter.
Lonely men, which leads to depressed men, which leads to the high suicide rate.
Or to men that become violent or do crime, which likely also women would do.
In my opinion, leftism at a policy level does a great job addressing the shitty material conditions that in part lead to the problems that men are facing.
It does not. It does not. It does not. Because let's be real, no matter who is ruling, who is at the top of a country in the government, they don't care about the average person. They just give you enough to survive. Doesn't matter if they're on the left or the right.
But then
they all act the same in the end.
Anything related to men's cultural issues, many such cases. And why would a struggling man even want to move left when the left?
If they hate me, why would I be a leftist? Why?
The question of whether or not the hashtag online left does enough to appeal to hashtag men has become the question du jour. And like, men have most of the money, authority, and do most of the murdering.
Men
have more money because they work harder.
Assaulting.
The average young man in America isn't Jeff Bezos. Also, why did this motherfucker just FBI crime statistics at me? Men do the most murder. Okay?
They like having all of the stuff they don't deserve. They like that. The
stuff that we don't deserve? Isn't it men paying the stuff for women oftentimes in relationships? Also, what does it mean not having all the stuff they don't deserve? I work hard. I try to afford things. The money that I get is the money that I earn.
They want it to stay that way because it suits them.
This is a caricature of the average leftist. This is literally the caricature of a leftist. These people are not leftist. They are pseudo-leftist. I call them pseudo-leftist. They think they are on the left, but they're not really.
Sell 10 times out of 10, then like...
So they call other leftists who are actually on the left.
Hey, maybe you should have less stuff and other
tell them that they're on the right.
Leftism is when you don't have a lot of stuff. We're gonna take your stuff. You sound like a 65-year-old Fox News boomer's idea of what the left is.
Yeah, literal caricature.
The right is saying to men, you will own a house. You will have beautiful children with your loving wife. You will have privacy. You will have free speech. You will own things, and you will be happy. And the left is like...
They like having all of the stuff they don't deserve.
You will own nothing and you'll be happy. Well, you will own nothing and you'll be miserable.
Will not do shit to help any of this.
Yeah. Now she says it.
strictly offering men something other than nothing or the eternal HR department. Every time this Discord comes up, there's people like, we need a
The
left
infinite
candidate.
Tsukiyomi of
We need
HR.
masculine role models on the left. But the fact is, it's hard for progressives to organically appeal to men, because a large part of progressivism is oppressive hierarchies, and men are oppressors. Making progressivism look appealing to young men is an uphill battle from the start. And although it's funny
Yeah,
to
pretty
laugh at
much.
insane people on Twitter, as always, there have been a lot of left-wing content creators talking about men's issues. If you would have told me this would be a thing 9 years ago, I would not believe you, because anyone talking about men's issues back in the day was called an MRA.
Pick me, MRA or pick me, or
But lately I have seen a lot of good
a Nazi.
pro-men lefty content, and I'll put some links to some below. I don't agree with all the points they say, but I recommend watching. It's much better than...
They like having all of the stuff they don't deserve.
But the issue is a lot of this lefty pro-men content is always framed around, how do we get them? As if men are just pawns and tools.
That goes actually for all politics, let's be real. All politics is how do I get the most voters? Not how do my voters benefit from my policies, from my ideas, from my... How do I improve my society?
For your personal politics. How do we make the left more appealing to men? How do we stop lonely men from moving to Andrew Tate? Instead of just, how do we help men? And I think that's a really big issue. Both sides seem to treat men as political fodder. Disposable soldiers in the... This not only goes for men. Women are just equally useful idiots. Because what politicians do is they appeal to women because they can use their sympathy for their own, they're nurturing, ways to benefit politics, for example, such as, immigration, but also illegal immigration, DEI. That is primarily pushed by women, because women how do I put this? Women are easier to use for that when it comes to the left, while men are obviously easier to use for the right. And then we have the whole problem with minorities being exploited for financial gain, for political gain, even though those companies like Ubisoft or Bridge or all that ESG stuff, they don't really care about minorities, they just want to make money. Culture war and real war. Anyway, misandry is real.
And establish Marxism.
Finally. And while it doesn't systemically affect cis men, it most certainly affects trans men. Oh. Y'all talking about misandry doesn't harm men, and trans men are there reading this shit, by the way.
It affects a group I care about.
Misandry because it affects trans men. Everyone stop. It's affecting a group I care about now. I love how evolved over from male tears to cis male tears. And I just have to ask, why aren't you including trans men in your misandry,
Nobody told me how lonely.
Is it because they aren't actually men? Sounds transphobic if you ask me.
Being a man is. We knew what depth felt like before we transitioned. We knew what it felt like to.
Bro got the whole male treatment. He got ran over by the society doesn't care about you bus.
And you're just a guy walking down the street that people cross.
Suffering from success, you could say. He got what he wanted.
So much harder to build. What's hard is none of this invalidates how real and raw women and people who are in marginalized groups feel about cis white men. All of that's valid. But I also now understand.
Also, I'm just gonna say, I hate the term cis. I think it is a slur. I think it is used as a slur. It is always used with negative connotation. Which is why I don't like it.
The suicide rate is so much higher in men.
Welcome to being a
You're not gonna call me a cis man, and I will not call you a trans man.
man. Here's your compliment.
How about that? I wanna call you a black man, and you will not call me a white man.
He's like, this doesn't invalidate.
Quoting Morgan Freeman in this situation.
Don't want to be lectured about the patriarchy. They don't want to be told It's all their fault. They don't want to be told they're part of the problem because, first of all, they're not. The average 20-year-old didn't build society. They go to work, come home,
The 40-year-old, the 50-year-old, even the current
and go to bed
80-year-old
like everyone
didn't.
else. I've talked about this before, but a lot of men's value comes from the money they make.
Correct.
Unfortunately. Men are natural providers, and if they have nobody to provide for, they get into findom or send random girls on the internet money. I'm just kidding, but the fact is, a lot of men simply feel like they don't have a purpose anymore. Whether a job or a career that's fulfilling and pays well, or a woman or family to protect and take care of. And
That's what I want. That is what I want. I want the family to take care of.
lacking purpose.
I can't, unfortunately.
Broken glass for a purpose. But you know who does make them feel like they have a purpose?
True, also. True. I've seen a lot more people coming to Christ recently. Which is kind of insane.
No, not him.
I say that life as a man is exceptional.
Yeah, and obviously this guy.
The most beautiful and the most terrifying thing about being a man is you're born without value. Society doesn't care about you.
True. Double true.
That Andrew Tate
that is true.
these guys up.
I don't like all the stuff he says, but that is true.
Male tears is insane. Andrew Tate isn't the solution to men's problems, but he is talking.
He is talking to us.
Did not care about them for years, and even now you just want to recruit them, not help them, and that's why you will fail.
Make useful idiots out of us.
Be the Andrew Tate of the left. Men, listen up. Wash your penis. So I guess I'll leave you guys with a question.
I already
What do
did
you
today.
think about loneliness?
What are you talking
What
about?
are your solutions for this problem? And are you dealing with loneliness?
Yes. Very much. No friends, no girlfriend, no nothing. Well, there's a fly in here. You might have probably heard it. God damn it! I'm going to kill you when I'm done with this. Like, I'm my own cockblock at this point because I'm waiting on the marriage, and women don't want that. The core issue, what I see, is that we have taken away the role of the provider, which was the main role for the man ever. Throughout history. We have taken away that, and now men have no purpose, because we didn't define anymore what the purpose of a man should be. To me, I grew up with the idea that I should find a wife and start a family. I cannot do that anymore. And I think a lot of men feel the same. While we have how we have continued to pull women up more and more and more, we have pulled them so far high up that we have completely lost the plot. We are not looking at what happens to men. Now a lot of men feel alienated, which is not necessarily a result of capitalism, it's just a result of years of constant men are bad, or delete all men, or similar things. I think I don't know what the solution is. I don't know it. Maybe if we define the role for men in a new way. But even that doesn't help, because being a provider is ingrained in us. I don't know what the solution is. Because this is the loneliness for men is created by multiple societal problems. The radicalization of feminism is, for example, adds to that problem. The financial struggles that society currently has, which also does a huge problem. That's a huge problem. It's like multiple smaller problems that create the problem male loneliness. And I do not know how to fix that. At least not by myself. The only thing I can do is provide content, entertain you, be there to in some way or shape to support you through difficult times. That is all I can do, for now at least. Let me know what you think. I'm going to end the video now. I'll see you in the next one. Take care of yourself.